So no, we're here with Ronica Cleary. She's got a very interesting background. This is another episode of
Big
Big
Talk,
Talk
about small business.
And Ronica, where are you talking to us from today?
Outside of Philadelphia.
Okay, great. So tell us a little bit about yourself. You've had such a varied career. I know you're now, I don't know what I want to call you. I don't want to just call you a PR consultant. I don't think that's sufficient, but you've done a lot of different things. Tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into this business.
Well, thank you for that, Mark. And it's nice to meet you both. So I am a founder, but I call myself a publicist as well, because I still run strategy on all of our accounts and I'm still very involved and engaged. So publicist would be totally accurate. I've been doing that for nearly 8 years. And before that, I was a television journalist. I worked most recently as a White House correspondent. And I covered the first Trump administration. I make sure to pause there because sometimes people mishear that I worked for them. I covered them. So I was in the White House press corps. And I did that. And I covered politics for the most of the time that I worked in journalism. So that career is what sort of set up the foundation for what I do today in public relations. But before that, I did a lot of other random things. It took me a while to figure out like where I wanted to settle into, and media in all of its forms, working as a journalist, now working as a publicist where we put clients in the media. It really feels like home.
So you're not nervous right now about being on our show?
No.
I mean as maybe you should be.
When you start saying hello, you kind of wonder, but I can handle it.
I mean, we are the biggest business talk show on planet Earth.
Absolutely. It's all happening right here.
You should you should direct all of your clients to Big Talk about small business.
You will be getting many pitches after that.
Fantastic.
So Ronica, now you went to Penn, I saw. Did you grow up there in the area or did you?
Yeah, so I grew up in South Jersey.
Okay.
Yeah, and the southern part of New Jersey identifies with Philadelphia, where the northern part identifies with New Jersey.
Yeah.
So yes, I grew up in the area. I went to Penn undergrad. I went to Drexel for graduate school, which is across the street from Penn. But when I went to Penn, I studied systems engineering. And so I say I still use my systems engineering degree every day to run my PR agency. I run my company and the team like a very efficient and organized assembly line and system, because I know you also have people just listening that care about running businesses, right? So it's not just about PR. And for me, that really transformed my life as a business owner. People talk about agency life being so stressful and chaotic, and we do not embrace that. The stereotype of being a publicist of being like chaos and stress is not the way we run our accounts. And so I do think systems thinking is a really important foundation for what I do today, though, I'm not working as an engineer.
No, I mean, to me, a lot of it comes down to probability theory and understanding that. And I think a lot of PR people that I've run into or, publicists, tend to be, they want to sell their relationships and their connections. And that's what they try to sell you on. I've hired them many times. Heard a lot of pitches over the years.
Yeah, and we actually really downplay relationships as a part of our PR strategies. I actually think that's probably this is how I put it. Like relationships are not a long-term PR strategy, right?
Amen.
Relationships I'll stop there.
No, I mean, that's why it's refreshing to hear what you say, because, it takes, you can get, you've got to use the laws of probability in your favor. I'll just say that. And hit enough numbers to make things happen.
Yeah, it is a numbers game. And if you're strategic and smart about it, you will be more successful. So it's not just about, like they call it spray and pray. Like that's the term for when you're just pitching thousands of people. That doesn't mean that that's what we're doing when we say it's a numbers game, but you do have to pitch a lot of people to get placements and to win. And then if you have a strategy behind it and you understand how media works, you will be very successful and probably bring your clients more results than any sort of relationship only PR strategy. It doesn't mean I don't have friends in the business. It doesn't mean my team doesn't have. It doesn't mean we don't ever call them, but that is not how you maintain an account year over year. I would never know enough people. Like it just doesn't work. So we always push back on that when people ask, like, well, who do you know? Or like, who are you going to, that's the strategy.
So if it's not spray and pray, then what is it? I mean, like, how are you, when you say strategy, right? That's kind of a big word that I think that a lot of our listeners would be like, well, I've heard that. But I mean, what would you advise somebody like to be strategic about the numbers game that you're talking about?
Right. Well, they could hire Cleary Strategies and let us take care of it. No, just kidding. So one of the things that we do, yeah, right.
It's like they can hire podcast videos to take care of all your podcast video needs.
So one of the things that we do that I think is different. So we do a period of discovery and onboarding with our clients that is extremely thoughtful and like painstaking, but in a good way. So we sit down with our clients and we build out what we like to think of as like pillars on a house. We don't want to begin pitching any client without 4 to 6 pillars or content themes fully fleshed out, fully developed with talking points and potential questions for journalists. What this allows us to do is more thoughtfully build out lists of potential journalists across television, radio, digital, print, and podcasts for our clients, so that when we are pitching them out, we are more effective. And then it also allows us to move much more quickly because like there's outbound public relations, and then I don't know if the right word would be inbound, but the idea of like responding to the news cycle, right? Like attaching to the news cycle. So when we have those content themes already approved, already fleshed out, already agreed upon, we are much more efficient at responding to the news cycle on behalf of our clients because we already know the things that they can talk about. We're not interrupting their work days. Again, this is all about reducing that chaos that I said just doesn't work for us. And so if we know you can talk about, like, I don't know when this will air, but with Artemis, right? I was just talking to a potential client that does work in STEM, right? And she really, in the call, she said, oh, wait, I could have provided commentary on Artemis. Well, all of her, if she was our client, all of her talking points related to STEM would have already been fleshed out, already been defined. And as soon as the news story hit, we would have pitched it, right? So it's about that foundation that makes everything run a lot more smoothly. It doesn't mean like something can't go chaotic or there can't be a crisis scenario, which we guide our clients as well, but it just sets a totally different tone on the account to allow things to just operate more efficiently.
It's all in the preparation, we used to say, my old carpenter.
Yeah.
It's all in the preparation. And this is the preparation to be able to respond. So one thing I always try to get people to understand about getting publicity is that the media needs you as much as you think you need them. I mean, they've got to have stuff that's newsworthy. And I think a lot of people forget that. It's a good point. That the truth, though? I mean, they want good stories. They want original data. They want controversial opinions on things.
Right. And when I started the agency, I didn't really plan for Cleary Strategies to be a PR agency. I kind of thought we'd be doing more internal communications strategy or even external comms. But what happened was people knew about my background in TV. And when I first left TV, I was booking myself to do commentary, and people were seeing that and then say in my network and saying, oh, well, can you do that for me? Can you do that for me? And like the clients sort of directed the next steps for Cleary Strategies. And my point is, I started this, I very much thought it was about asking for favors from your friends, right, in the business. and so to your point, Mark, when I realized like we are connectors and we're not just doing a service for our clients, we're actually doing a service for the media. And our mission statement, we say that we serve both media and our client roster. It just was like a light switch and a shift in thinking that I think made us more successful, because I'm not asking anyone to do us a favor. I'm actually like making their lives easier. And I do look back on my career in television and I think I really should have been a producer, because our pitches we are producing segments for the person that we're pitching. We're saying like, look at this. We have the source, we have the sound, we have the B-roll, we have the questions, we have everything done for you. If this would make your life easier, let us know. And so I couldn't agree with you more. And that mental shift really made me just like feel better. I feel like a used car salesman. Like I just felt great about the work.
You're helping people.
Yeah. Well, what you're providing value. You're providing value on both ends, right? Which is, I think, the secret sauce to really doing that well. So like, if we have a small business, if somebody has a small business, like, I mean, I think that probably the conventional thought is for a small business owner is there's no way I can afford a PR firm.
Mhm.
Like, I mean, it's like I've got to really work my way up. That's what happens with big companies. Is that true to you? Or can small businesses
Small
afford?
business is defined with a wide range of revenue, right?
Mhm.
So,
Yeah, sure.
I mean, it depends. I think that if you get lucky and you find yourself a solopreneur who's out there hustling. I mean, we used to be pretty affordable when I started. You know, you could
Yeah.
have hired us like 5 or 6 years ago. But I actually think it can be affordable. Work with a lot of small businesses and nonprofits. I do
Mm.
not need to necessarily pay New York City retainer rates of $12,000 to $15,000 a month to have a good PR agency or experience. I
Right.
do think though, when you're in, let's say, the $4,000 to $6,000 a month range,
Mhm.
you should be careful and thoughtful because in public relations, there are no guarantees, right? Any PR firm that's making guarantees is lying to you, and that is your first red flag. However, when we're saying there are no guarantees, and you think, well, how do I know who to hire? Because even
Yeah.
if that's in your budget, that's still like a big line item for the year, right? It's still
Right.
you got to be thoughtful about it. You know, it's not an employee, so that helps. But I think small businesses 100% can afford quality public relations, and if you get out of the New York City metro area with PR firms that have a storefront to pay for, you can find good quality firms at a lower rate. You just want to do your homework, ask questions, look for case studies, maybe ask for past client, contacts to chat with them because you want to be careful that you're not getting taken advantage of.
So what would somebody be looking for? I mean, like I guess if there's no guarantee, but a business is paying $6,000 a month, um, how do I know that PR firm, like once the engagement starts, let's say I signed up, what are some flags or both green and red flags that this firm is going to be doing a good job or not being doing a good job that day 30, 0 through 60? Right? Because,
It's
I
a
mean,
good question.
something's got to kick off, right?
Right. Well, I do believe in asking for the case studies and talking to former clients or current clients. I think that's the best way to get information. Also, look, I can only speak to running my agency. And since I don't come
Yeah.
from agency life, I can't compare to that. But for example, like our YouTube channel, every single podcast or TV appearance we have ever booked is on our YouTube channel. So like you literally see that being updated
Sure.
almost every day. Every client has a playlist. We try to be
Mhm.
extremely transparent about
Mhm.
our placements. Like nothing is behind like a wall to say, oh, well, that's our clients. It's, obviously we would never betray a client if they ask us not to, but for the most part, we put that in our
Sure.
contracts because it's very important. So I think
Mhm.
it's about being forward about what you've done, right? Do you have clients that are similar? Have you worked with clients that are similar? What's our expected outcome? Can we get out of the contract like every 90 days or so? Is there a way to exit early if we sign a 1-year engagement? Is there a way to leave? Like, I think those are all reasonable things to ask for. And then trust, right? You have to like, know, and trust the person because PR is such a, like, I, I have personal relationships with my clients and
Hmm.
I think you should take your time to hire your PR firm and ask a lot of questions and look for examples of success before you make the decision. I have noticed people who hire us really quickly tend to abandon ship really
Yeah.
quickly. That for us as
Mhm.
an agency, that's almost a red flag.
Yeah.
Where it can be like, a little frustrating when people take a long time, but then I know they're being extremely thoughtful. They're asking the questions they need to, and we're building a partnership versus just like, let's try this flavor of the month to grow our business overnight. Oh, it didn't work in 2 months. Like I just find that to be a concern on my end. That
Sure.
doesn't exactly answer your question, but I think it does speak to the conversations that need to be had before you engage in this partnership because it is a big investment. But I do think you can confidently go into an engagement and have a lot of information to feel like you know what you're diving into.
I I come out of the architecture and engineering world, and been on a lot of boards of companies and some of the larger ones. And I'll never forget this case where I had a client that was a pretty well known firm in a particular specialty. And they had this PR person. They kept telling me, she's great, she's great, she's great. She was British. They had an office in London, based in the US, though. And she came to a board meeting one time, and I figured out what she was doing because when she meets me, she got a little too close. Okay. She took my tie in her hands, both hands,
Oh no.
and said, "Oh, that is a wonderful tie." And she said, "Where did you get that? On Savile Row?" And I kid you not. Okay. And I said, "No, I think it came from like Joseph Bank or something, you know." But but anyway, it was clear to me the way she was selling was simply
Sizing you up
stroking the
for how much she could charge you.
yeah. She was simply stroking the egos of these guys. And she was an attractive 50-year-old woman, and they were 60 to 65-year-old dudes, and she brought her 25-year-old clone version of herself along with her, impeccably dressed, super fit, very articulate. But anyway, it just really, to me, that was sort of the epitome of that certain type of seller of PR services that I've seen, maybe that's one end of the continuum and you're on the other end. You're like, no BS, you're very, very straight up. But,
Like,
but anyway,
but Mark, like think about that. Those guys maybe weren't doing the due diligence because she was making them feel so good. They probably felt
absolutely.
investment. They were like this because I do think some of public relations is about ego, right? And that's okay, but like I don't
Yeah.
want people to just hire us for an exercise in feeling good. But I do pump up my clients. I want them to feel great. I don't want them to go out on air and feel terrible. But that's a funny story. No, I mean we don't. That's I do like to think I dress impeccably well. I mean, like some of the things you said sounds like me, but not 50. Let's we're not there yet. So
I don't get most of my ties at Joe Bank either. Okay. I mean, I will admit, although we just went to MoMA last week and I didn't see anything I liked there. And that used to be a great place to get ties. But
MoMA?
my gosh.
Museum of Modern Art, New
Oh.
York.
Gotcha.
But anyway, all right. So enough of that. So tell us more about your business, though. You've built a successful business over there. What's been the key to that? Forget the services and how you're unique for a minute. How have you organized that thing? How have you attracted and retained good people?
So I am very careful about where I spend money, and I run a team of contractors so we can expand and contract very easily. So that I think for us with public relations the way it is, we are often the first service to get cut, right? When you think about what people need, when they're running businesses, because we're B2B, obviously, that has allowed me to keep most of my team working. Like we just maybe adjust because if they're being paid by the service or the outcome, they're always working for the clients that we have, but I'm not getting caught in really expensive, salaries or even retainers for most of them. And so that allows me to run this business extremely efficiently. And we were virtual before it was cool, right? We opened in 2018 before COVID. And I also think that, I guess, like I said, being flexible, hiring the way that we do for our agency. And then I hire a lot of working parents, right? So for what it's worth, the work that I can offer people who work for me, it's not a good fit for everybody. So
Sure.
I am very careful in finding people who would want to work in an environment like mine for a long period of time. And that greatly reduces turnover, even though, do you call it turnover if they're contractors? I don't know. But the people on my team have been with me, the majority of them for a very long time, because if you're a working parent, a lot of them come from television journalism. So they're still connected to the industry that they love. They can pick up their kids. They can have some flexibility. They don't mind that it's not always the same intensity. It creates an environment that works for the people who work for me. And I think that's a key too. I'm not trying to to scoop up big time PR agency people that will be unhappy and think like, oh, well, just work for us through the summer until you get work. Like, I'm really looking for people who would thrive in the environment that I can give them. So for us, I think that's allowed a lot of consistency on the my end of things, because if the clients are, there's always new clients and there's a lot of change in that sense. There's tons of change in the media. Like, we didn't even really pick, when I would put someone on a podcast in 2018, 2019, it was this like novel idea, right? The industry has transformed in that sense on what we're working with. At least I have really consistent players on this end who are very happy with the environment that we've set up for them.
So, Ronica, I got a big question for you.
Uh-oh.
How are you seeing AI affecting everything that your industry is doing?
So, that's funny. So I actually just wrote a piece. So I write for Inc. magazine online, and I just wrote a piece on one area where AI is not welcome, and that's in thought leadership. So when we see journalists' queries or reporters looking for sources or quotes, it constantly, no AI answers. AI answers will be deleted. It will destroy our relationships with them if our clients use AI. So for us, we're sort of in this weird space where in that one particular issue, like, AI is the worst thing you could possibly use. We do, however, like, use AI when we're planning out and mapping our editorial calendar and pitching themes for our clients every month, right? Like, there are plenty of ways we've used AI to be more efficient on the services that we deliver and maybe researching potential reporters or outlets, but and my clients cannot use AI for thought leadership, or the damage would be irreparable, not just for them, but also for us, because we go out on the line, right? Basically, for every person we take on our roster, we're putting our name next to them when we contact the media, because ideally they'll say, oh, it's a pitch from Cleary Strategies. We can trust them. They've vetted them. I don't need to see their TV clips. I don't need to see their past work. We know Ronica and her team have done that. So I have not a love-hate relationship, but there are definitely parts of my work where AI is extremely frowned upon and like cannot be used. But that doesn't mean I don't have a subscription to, Claude and ChatGPT that we use. It's just for strategy, planning, research, things like that.
I want to hang out in this current just a little bit because I absolutely love what you said.
Well, because he owns a company called Ad Fury AI as well. But anyway, go on, Eric.
Okay, so it's not that I'm biased, Marcus.
No, you spend a lot of time studying this.
Yeah.
He spends out. He really does. He devotes a certain amount of his time every day to studying AI. I mean, it's a real passion for you.
Yeah, and well, it's a it's a business I'm heavily invested in. So it's not just a passion, Mark. It's a very risky venture.
I get it.
Which is what we're all talking about. But anyway, I don't want to spend all.
Does your venture need crisis management or planning?
Oh yeah, totally.
It's all about crisis.
100%.
Now, live on the podcast.
This is crisis management. Just having this podcast, right?
That's hilarious.
But what I love about what you said, because I'd like to demystify a little bit about the fear factor that I think a lot of people have about AI replacing my job, my people, my business. What do I do? It gets really confusing there when you start really thinking about the humanoids coming to take over all work, right? So you got that part, but then you also have this overuse and expectation that you can automate your face off and don't have to work anymore and sit back and collect checks. So there's these two worlds that I see. People that are not ingrained into AI in business, like what we are today. And so that can cause just a lot of just kind of crappy business ventures and this perspective that you can either do very little and do very well, or you should not start a business because the end's coming soon.
Yeah.
Like,
there's a continuum there. Yeah. It's the realities in the middle.
The realities in the middle. And it's exactly what Ronica is saying. So the human voice is still what humans want to hear. 100%. They've been wanting to hear it since the dawn of time, and we're going to want to hear it until we die.
Yeah.
Right.
But can I say something about that related to AI?
Yeah.
So I've written so much stuff, Ronica.
He is a pro writer.
Okay. I've had a newsletter I published now for 38 years, basically.
Longer than I've been alive, Ronica.
No, it's not. But
Unbelievable.
anyway, and it comes out every week. Okay. I can use AI to go into my own writing and mine my writing specifically and say, only use my stuff as a source.
Yes.
To pull thoughts together. Now, I'm not going to take that and then go, there it is on LinkedIn. I mean, but it does get me thinking about things that I wouldn't think of or wouldn't necessarily remember, but it's my stuff. I mean, of course, anyway, it's a great tool. It's a great research tool too. I mean, let's face it. I mean,
it is. Yeah.
No,
if you know how to query it, I mean,
no, 100%. I mean, it takes care of a lot of that.
It's amazing
that repetitive production related work, but allows you to what Ronica just said, which I want the audience to hear very clearly.
Yes,
thought leadership. Even though you had the bots bring this in, you're still thinking as a human and providing your thought leadership from your experience in life.
No, you're right.
To help guide other people, readers, viewers, whatever it might be, to the right direction as a human with experiences. That's the power of it. And I really hope that, and if you're trying to start a business, yes, you can use AI to the end of your life, but you have to think.
Yeah.
You have to take your experiences and navigate the world in business. But I just really appreciate your response to that, because that's perfect. And by the way, that's what the media, to what Ronica was saying, that's what the media wants and expects, because its readers are humans.
Right.
And so don't be bringing me your AI sloppy freaking quote. Yeah. And thinking that you're some sort of scientist.
Yeah. No kidding.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. And we didn't even talk ahead of time and agree that I would say that. Can you believe that?
That's so organic and natural. And
that's the way we do our shows. We don't want to talk to people ahead of time. I'm serious. It's a lot more fun to discover things about the person live.
Yeah.
So I want to ask you take a little slightly different direction now.
Okay.
Since Eric's monopolized the company. No, Eric always does that. He does that to me, so I'm just doing it back to him.
It does not bother you, because you seem to like each other.
No, my one of my pet peeves though about marketing in general, and I know you come out of a data science background. 100%. Everybody wants to be making data-driven decisions, and my alma mater used to be the College of Business and Administration. Now it's the College of Business and Analytics. Okay. Everybody wants to talk about the data-driven decisions, but some of marketing, in my opinion, at least, has not a damn thing to do with the data. Because, when I look at businesses now, you work for Inc. magazine. Inc. magazine's fastest growing.
But I don't want to be misleading. I contribute to their. Yeah, but we don't get
contribute.
Okay, but
group.
I just what's in Inc.
on what I do, but yes, I write thought leadership for them.
Right. You know what Inc. is, and you know what the audience of Inc. is, right? It's privately held business owners, entrepreneurs. And, I've got plenty of experience. I've been to the conferences. My company, one of them was on the list 4 times. So I get that.
We're an Inc. Power partner. So
I'm sorry?
We're an Inc. Power partner. That's how we got.
I saw that.
Yeah. So we have that in common. Got it.
But anyway, when I think about like some of the most rapidly growing companies that were on that list, where I got familiar with the owners, and forget the industry, okay? It could be anything. A lot of them simply devoted more money to marketing than their peers, and they poured it into things where you don't necessarily know what the return is. Everybody is fixated on online
return on ad spend.
Yeah,
all that kind of stuff,
because it's completely traceable. Exact. I got so many views and so many clicks and so many whatevers. Okay. But the reality of it is, in my experience, at least, that a lot of the most successful companies said, you know what? We are going to just go out there with like this unbelievable program and hammer using all kinds of media and publicity. Okay. Because it is better than paid. It's
100%.
real. We know that. But and they don't necessarily get oh my God, I only got 2,042 clicks to this one, and we got 2,072 clicks to this one, so we're never going to do this again. Okay. It's bullshit. Okay. And the MBAs of the world, which I have one, and I work for a college of business as an excellent program, I might add. They want to take everything down to the numbers.
Yeah.
You just can't do it with marketing. At least that's what I think.
Is there a question?
What are your thoughts?
What are
Monica?
what are your thoughts?
I have thoughts.
Seriously.
I do have thoughts, and I appreciate what you're saying, because the worst part of my sales pitch, but what helps me get the best fitting clients, is that there is no straight line between our PR placements and your sales. It just doesn't exist. And I really tried to be transparent about that, because I want people, again, when you're making this investment, to know what you're investing in, which is long-term credibility, overall increased presence, like in the space, trustworthiness. These are all things that are really hard to quantify, but that absolutely matter and are essential for your growth. But anybody that, I've had clients where we sit down and they want to look at the clicks on the website during the placements, and we have the conversations, but they're not the right clients. And that doesn't mean that, obviously I think PR is a great investment. I think it makes sense. I'm here because I do PR for Cleary Strategies, right? Obviously I think it's worth it. But if you don't really believe in that long-term vision of the investment over time, changing the way you and your business are perceived and viewed and trusted, because it's not paid placements, making it much harder to track the results, then it's probably not a good thing for you to spend money on. But I always kind of laugh when I have to kind of have that conversation if someone brings it up, because I think this is probably against like every rule in a sales book. But if I don't have this conversation, it's not a good foundation for the relationship.
So Ronica, on that, take us through a use study, not a case study, right? But a fictional but yet realistic story, that if I'm a new client, I'm like, hey, I really want to see data and have it line up to sales, my $6,000 investment to you as a publicist. And your response is you need to be thinking long-term. Well, then give me a deeper story about what does it look like? Like, what's my experience going to be as your client to see the results of your work as a publicist? Like, what's the counter to it? So don't be looking at the website clicks, because that's not going to line up. Don't try to measure ROI on all your data, because that doesn't. But this will happen, Eric. Like, if we have a successful partnership together, you will experience this, not this, but this. What does that look like?
So I think it would be improved and more reputable placements, right? Maybe bigger reach and a bigger, like a more expansive national placements, national op-eds, right? Those are things that we're looking for and going for. I also think understanding that the placements should be part of a bigger puzzle and strategy, right? So for example, Mark, you write a newsletter. I don't know what the purpose of the newsletter is, but a lot of people write newsletters to get like customers or to re-engage with customers or past customers, whatever it might be. Well, ideally, you're going to take the content from our placements and put it into your newsletter to make it a more robust newsletter, to increase that trust and credibility, to maybe close more clients. So maybe you can draw a longer line with more stop points in the middle, but say, you know what, my newsletter has more clicks, my newsletter has more engagement, there's more responses on my LinkedIn pages when I'm sharing my placements and my wins. So every client is different. I do think the idea of like, if you want to write op-eds, maybe we're going to hit and reach a better publication or better outlet. Maybe you're going to be asked for repeat appearances on an outlet, right? They're going to have again and again, right? So it's hard to say exactly what it would be, but we would take in mind, like, what is the client's goal? Some people say, well, we are a national nonprofit. We would like placements every year in every state that we do work in. Or I'll give you a real case study. We're the agency of record for the Seeing Eye. They're the longest serving guide dog organization. They train guide dogs for people who are blind, and so that organization has now seen a tremendous increase in the number of people who volunteer to be puppy raisers to then become guide dogs, right? They can actually point to the increase of volunteers since we started working with them. So that's like a great example where they can point to results. And for them, it's not necessarily, I mean, we've gotten the national placements, but they're not worried about the national win, right? We have that goal in mind for them. So we're like, how can we get you wins related to the importance of volunteering as a puppy raiser, right? So they're all different, but I do think there are goals we can set for each client that could help them feel that when they look back, they have a lot to point to that's successful and worth the investment. The other thing we do, look, I do want to say this. I understand that people need some sort of results or numbers to make sense of this investment, right? Like I'm not a fool. And so we do invest in technology that basically provides reporting every month to our clients that gives them estimates on the reach and the monetary value of the placement based on competing advertising costs in the market and for the network and Nielsen ratings for the TV programs or web views, right?
Sure.
So we give our clients numbers and results that they can present to their boards or their investors or potential investors, whatever it is, to say, okay, we can estimate that we've reached this many people, or the monetary value of this investment would have cost us this if we paid for advertising in the same market at the same time. So like, it's not that there's no data. I just don't like to put all the stock in the data and say that's the most important thing, because look, you guys host a podcast. You know that your listeners are loyal, committed listeners who, for the most part, probably come back week after week because they like you too. They trust the guests that you choose and they know they're going to get great content. I would argue there's greater value in being on a podcast with a small, not that your audience is small, but like a small, loyal audience compared to a national TV program that is on
Eric's language.
Airport that's on mute, that nobody knows what they're talking about. So that's why I do not put all the stock in the numbers. But we still give people numbers. Like, I mean, we got to give them something. Yes.
But can I jump in on this for a minute? I mean, like, I think that to go back to what you were saying, like, what's the best outcome that could come out from that? I could have somebody reach out to me who is going to be my business partner. I could have a potential investor connection from somebody that whatever we put out there really meant something to them, that they introduce us to somebody who changes the entire trajectory of our business and buys our business or whatever. So there's a lot of different ways it can go. To me, it just kind of like, do you want to be selling Toyotas or you want to be selling Chevys? Mm-hmm. Which one's easier? Okay. Toyotas are, all right.
I was going to say, I'm a car person. I think the answer is Toyota.
Right. They're easier to sell. People know, well, they're reliable. They hold their resale value. So it's all these other things, that if you've got the right PR, it's just one piece of the story that helps you build the brand that you're trying to create, that reduces the risk of buying your product or service.
Yeah. So I'll give a testimony, since Ronica is helping podcast videos out so much with our value proposition.
I believe
she is. Yeah. I mean, you are, and I'll go that in a second from what you said, because you just brought another. Oh, dude, it's beautiful. But so I'll attest to publicists, PR, earned media as a whole. White Spider, right? Our company. Yeah. Folks ask me a lot of times, like, how did you do it? How did it get through? All this kind of stuff. It was heavily relied upon publicity and this earned media ecosystem. We were the first out of the gate to raise a flag about the significance of digital commerce and omni-channel retail, right? No one in the community freaking understood even what we were talking about, right? But we were.
I still don't understand.
I know you don't. Well, you don't have to, but we needed the clients to understand. We needed the market to understand.
It was a great business, clearly. You solved the problem and you built a great business.
100%. But that took a lot of earned media. Like, we had to talk and educate, inspire, just a whole market.
You created the business of what you guys did. It's basically it.
100%. But I could see the value in that. And it wasn't a measure of clicks and all this stuff. But what started to happen was an inertia. Yeah. An inertia and an emotion, not just my emotion, but a communal emotion, industry emotion of where, man, like to Ronica's point, I was getting calls from the New York Times. I was getting calls from these different trade pubs. all the and when those things started compounding.
Yes.
And the next thing I knew is that our entire brand, anytime we were anywhere, our brand showed up, we were speaking at an event, whatever it might be, or you'd see our white spider bus driving by. People knew who we were, what we represented, our authority, our credibility. It was like, you could totally sense it.
Yeah,
Like it was,
sure.
there was no mistaking. There was no like, how much credibility did I get today out of that effort? And it was never thought about that. And so,
but you're an entrepreneur. You understand that. See, that's the problem. I think a lot of businesses are run by people who are not entrepreneurs.
Oh my gosh. You just brought up another massive topic that I'm wigging out on lately.
They're freaking engineers or they're freaking MBAs that worked in corporate America.
I just wigged out on a podcast, Ronica. You might like this too. I wigged out. And I actually have to go back and edit it before it gets released because I kind of wigged out almost too much.
Okay.
But I was like, there is a difference between a founder and an entrepreneur.
Yep.
You don't have to be one or the other as to be a good, successful entrepreneur. But you can easily update LinkedIn and say, I'm a founder today.
And they don't have to be an entrepreneur.
Right. And a lot of times, I would say the majority of them are not. That's why 95% of businesses fail, because a lot of the founders are not entrepreneurs.
They don't get this idea of what
relentless,
we're here.
Shameless, promoting, campaigning, and publicity.
Right.
Like, till you die.
Yeah.
That idea.
Never stop. It should never stop.
Never stop promoting.
And wait, you talked about how like then you're getting calls and things like that. You know, if you had a PR firm, it's funny. It's not with every client. Many clients, they get it, but we take credit for that, right? Just because they called you because of all the stuff we did to get you the point where
you should take credit for that.
So it all it's very like fluid and expansive, and it's 100%. Great to hear you get it. And not everybody gets it. I never heard that distinction between a founder and an entrepreneur. That's interesting. That's the first time I've heard that. But it's not an investment for everybody, but I still think it is. Obviously, I really believe in it. And we look for clients and people to partner with who get it, because that's when we can have the most success and the longest term engagements, because they are not looking for a quick fix or an overnight success. They understand long-term credibility, marketing, if you will, and how you get that in no other way than earned media.
So, Ronica, I'd only counter with one statement, is I do believe it's an investment for everyone. However, I know you didn't mean it like this, but just to clarify the audience.
But not everybody gets it. Like, I can't convince everybody is what I meant. Like, I can't, I'm not going to just twist people's arms. If you don't get it, like, that's fine. But if you get it, it can be awesome, right? Because I don't want to argue with a client to justify what we're doing, though that doesn't really happen. But that's what I meant when I said it. Yeah.
I know. And what I'm trying to articulate is their monetary investment in a firm like yours, that cost may be too much for them, but they themselves as an entrepreneur absolutely must invest in their own relentless publicity for themselves until they can get to a paid investment with pros like yourself that can take them and multiply, right? Because I see right now as an experienced entrepreneur like you do, the absolute critical intrinsic value of having Ronica on my team.
Yeah.
Helping me reach out. Helping me craft those strategic messages in the beginning. What can I talk about? Well, you are crazy, Eric, but let me sit down with you and get 6 bullet points of the stuff that you really are a thought leader in, that you're not going to. Why are you calming me down? Don't calm me down. No, I'm not calming you. Okay.
She would love somebody like you. My guess is, I'm not trying to put words in Ronica's mouth, because you can be controversial. You do have a unique perspective.
Oh yeah, I love that. I want you to say craziest thing ever. But
what do you do though, Ronica, when you get these people and they just come out and they're like, well, we're going to pivot, and at the end of the day, and then we're going to find our synergy, and they just speak in cliches.
My favorite cliche yesterday was, my thesis is. Thesis is.
Now, the other one, everybody's got agency now. That's the new word.
My agency thesis is, at the end of the day.
You have agency. You have agency.
people.
These words, it's just like so you must run into those too, where they basically don't have anything unique to say.
Well,
Or how do you
you
deal with
know,
them? We're easy over here, okay? But how do you deal with them?
I think the most important place for people to be relatively controversial would be in op-ed writing. So if I know a person is really uncomfortable in the space of taking a side or being incendiary, I discourage that, right? Because I do think you can provide pretty moderate commentary on certain topics. Like we can find a place for
Mhm.
you, depending on
Sure.
what it is. But it makes our job a lot more fun and we can do a lot more with it if you're comfortable. We used to have this expression in one of my old TV stations. We would say we want to be the skunk at the picnic. And so
Yeah.
like if you're comfortable like being
Skunk at the picnic. I
the
like
I
that.
love it.
it's a good one, right? And so if
I
you're
want to be a skunk at a picnic.
You always will be. You
that's
always.
like
Hey,
that can be great. Yeah, that can be really great. But you need to do that deliberately, right? You don't you need to be very media savvy or you can get yourself in a lot of trouble. And that's where working with like an experienced team, and a lot of my team comes from TV, like we really get it and we can provide you a little guidance and make sure we're not putting you in a situation that will be problematic. Like we don't want to create unnecessary crisis. And we also when we know a client will not thrive in an environment like that, we will just deliberately like not present or pitch certain opportunities or outlets or placements because we know it will not go well. So that's one of the many distinctions from us between like us and maybe a booking agency. You could hire a booking agency, just book placements for you,
right.
but we're very strategic and thoughtful based on what kind of personality are you bringing to the table and where can you be successful without ending up in like creating a problem for yourself.
Love it.
I got a question for you that I really want to get out before we run out of time.
Well, and I have a question too.
Okay.
So hurry up.
Okay. Look, especially with your background coming out of it being a White House correspondent, my personal stand as it relates to this stuff, whether it's social media, general, whatever, is I take no political stand. Okay. Now, some people could say that's chicken shit or I'm weak or whatever. I don't want to alienate half of my audience for anything I do. Okay. And that is a problem, I think, with a lot of small business owners that I've seen is they're like, they live in an echo chamber. They only associate with people like themselves and have the same opinions as themselves and religious, political, social topics, whatever beliefs. And then they go out there on that platform and they find themselves basically walking a plank and losing half of their market because they're so certain of the rightness of their position. What do you think about that? How do you advise your clients to deal with contentious social topics or political stuff?
So I have pretty hard and fast rule. You should decide how you feel, how you will, like what, if you are going to take a side and what side you will take, you should make those decisions before anything is going on. Right. So you should make a decision. Like our agency is not political. We are, we do not comment on political events. I spend enough time covering politics. We are not in it. And so so I made that decision when there were not, I mean, think about going through COVID years and how much pressure there was on businesses to, make comment on so many issues that occurred. And when we went through those years, we didn't. And there was a lot of pressure too, but because I knew I had made that decision before all of that came to light, I kind of said, well, this was my decision. This was my decision. And reminding yourself that like these moments in time when it feels like everyone's commenting, they do pass, right? So you can get through them without commenting, but there is risk. So I can point to one client in particular that I'm certain that we lost because we did not comment on social media about a huge and controversial headline. And I knew that was going to happen. And even though I made that decision, I sort of felt the pressure, but I said, look, in the long run, I do not want to start this because this is who we decided we were not going to be when the pressure wasn't there. So when the pressure is there, stay true to that. So that is the same advice I give to my clients. It's not necessarily, Mark, I don't necessarily tell them all, don't take a stance. The idea is, does the stance align with your business? Like, does it make sense for you to have a stance related to your business? and make that decision when you are not under pressure so that you can navigate it very thoughtfully when you are under pressure, right? So that's more the guidance when we do crisis management and crisis planning. That's the direction we come from with the guidance. Because all jokes aside, we're saying how fun is Eric, right? He's like, crazy or whatever. He's not crazy, but like he's got a personality that he's happy to engage, like happy to bring to the table. It's not controversial, but that can be being a little incendiary, being a little unconventional can be great for the media, but it has to be deliberate and decisive and purposeful. It cannot just be like, oh, I'm on a whim. Everyone's doing this today. Everyone's posting this message on social media. So I have to it cannot be like that. That's where you get lost and it's a terrible strategic decision.
It's good advice.
Yeah.
I mean, in your stance could be not take a stance.
Yeah, it
you
could
see what
be.
I'm saying? Right?
Yeah. I mean, but I mean, like, I don't mind being incendiary when it comes to like conventional management practices I have no problem with that. But like politics, it just seems to me like we don't know who all we're going to interact with as clients or investors or employees.
I share the same thing. I don't have such but I don't think that our conviction is on that side of stuff is driving us so incredibly hard to the conviction of those social things are not as high as our conviction about running a business, employing folks and having a purposeful life existence through business.
Yes. No, you're right about that.
That to me,
that's what drives us.
And so if my purpose in business is at this height, I do have opinions about things.
Me too.
I keep my damn self and I freaking zone out and zen out and get peace with it. Right. Move on with it.
I get
this purpose of business where I'm providing opportunities for fellow mankind to grow and experience wealth and better lives.
Solve
contribution, solve problems. Yeah. That's what I'm about, baby. Yeah. So anyway, I got one last question before we wrap it up. So it's not really a question, Ronica. I want to see if you will agree with my statement here because this this is big.
This is the judge. No,
I accept her as a judge.
Comes down to this.
It does come down to this. So podcastvideos.com, when I explain video and audio conversational communication, right, which we have the power and technology to do. Mm-hmm. Here's how I best have encapsulated the ultimate vision that we have.
Okay.
Historically, we had 100 media outlets with 1 million listeners apiece. Mm-hmm. Now, and going in the future, we'll have 1 million outlets with 100 listeners apiece. Mm-hmm. That is the revolution of media in today's time. What do you think?
Yes. And that's what keeps us, that's what we'll use to keep ourselves in business and showing that there's value, even though media is transforming dramatically. You still need to be in the place. People are still, media is not dead. News is not dead. We are just consuming it differently. 100%.
But
fantastic.
She already alluded to this earlier in the show.
I wanted her to rubber stamp my statement, bro.
But see, this is what she's saying that she's trying to do with her business that's different is they look at those 1 million outlets and get the people into the right ones. That's it's not as easy in a way as the old days. Like get in the Wall Street Journal and you're done.
Yeah. Okay? PR Newswire, you got 25 outlets, just hit them.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. It just the way it's done dramatically. Yeah.
Yeah. That takes a lot of research to get the right media outlets for people to get through to their audience.
100%.
So,
Ronica, this has been a great episode. We really appreciate you.
I appreciate your
time. Thank you. Yeah, absolutely. We need to have her back on sometime.
Yes,
I think
it'd be good. I like that.
Learned a lot.
In studio next time.
Yeah. When next time you're down, come see us. Have you ever been to Northwest Arkansas?
I have not.
It's kind of like a paradise. I mean, it's like a hidden gem.
No, you wouldn't believe it. People don't. Anybody who comes here says, I had no idea this place was so great. I mean,
and that's 30 years after they stayed here.
It's amazing. We got over 600,000 people now. It's a super high growth area. Bentonville is like Truman Show it's almost unreal. You can buy a condo.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
You can buy a condo in downtown Bentonville now of $2 million for a 1,000 square foot condo. I mean, it's gone insane here.
That does
Really
sound.
is.
Well, you
It's
all
the
let me know
bike.
when you're in Philly, and we'll take you around.
Yes. I love
Sounds fair.
Philadelphia. I whenever I go, I stay at the Rittenhouse, at the Rittenhouse Square area. It's a nice area. You can walk around. Yeah. It's an interesting city. It was when I was young, I lived in Boston for 17 years. I moved there from DFW, not from there originally, but my goal was either live in Boston or Philadelphia. They're both very historic and walkable and interesting places to be.
Yeah, a lot of history there.
Yep. So anyway, great to have you. If anybody wants to find you and reach out to you, Ronica, what is the best way?
They can contact us on clearystrategies.com. You can find me on all social media platforms at Ronica Cleary, and there's Cleary Strategies accounts on all of them too. We try to be very accessible, and you can also call the phone number on our website. I will answer the phone. So
Fantastic. Love that. That's the best thing in the world right there. And when you say Cleary, it's Cleary.
Yes.
That's right. It autocorrects to Clearly, so don't let it do that. It's Cleary Strategies, and it's Ronica, like Monica with an R.
Got it. Thanks so much for being with us today, Ronica. It's been great.
It really has. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. This has been a fantastic episode of
Big Talk About Small Business.
Thanks for tuning into this episode of Big Talk About Small Business. If you have any questions or ideas for upcoming shows, be sure to head over to our website, www.bigtalkaboutsmallbusiness.com, and click on the Ask the Host button for the chance to have your questions answered on the show. Stay connected with us on LinkedIn at Big Talk About Small Business. And be sure to head over to our website to read articles, browse episodes, and ask questions about upcoming shows.